Hello everyone, welcome to Achievers IAS classes. Let's begin our discussion on the current events of 5th September 2018. The first issue in news is regarding political advertisements. It is in news because recently the Election Commission has teamed up with Google to keep tabs on online political advertising. Google will develop a mechanism that will not only ensure pre-certification of political advertisements but also enable it to share the details of the expenditure incurred on its various platforms with the Election Commission. The pre-certification will be done by the Election Commission's media certification and monitoring committees and the assurance given by the search engine Google that it would set up a mechanism for sharing the information of the cost of political advertisements would be of use to the returning officers when it comes to calculating the election expenditure of individual candidates. In this regard, suitable modifications would be made in the Representation of the People Act given the diversity of media platforms. The Election Commission had earlier held meetings with Facebook, which has also agreed to develop tools for removing any content pertaining to election matters during the 48-hour period when the prohibition protocol is in place, and also develop tools to check fake news and share details of expenditure on poll related advertisements. Given the fact that Google controls most of the digital advertising market, this is a very significant development which could help the Election Commission in assessing individual expenditures. The next issue in news is regarding GM mustard. The Environment Ministry is all set to convene a special meeting of the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee to decide on the issue of field trial approvals for the controversial transgenic mustard. Environmentalists, farmer groups, and some scientists argue that the transgenic mustard poses several environmental and health risks as it contains a foreign gene from another species, and results so far have failed to show any appreciable gains in the yield over the traditional mustard varieties. Further, if the transgenic mustard were to be commercially approved, the farmers growing the GM crop would be dependent on glyphosate, which is a weedicide that has been linked to cancer. In this regard, the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, which is the apex regulator of transgenic products, had sought for more tests for the GM mustard, and it remains to be seen if all the issues and concerns raised by several stakeholders has been addressed. Now let's move on to the next issue, which is an editorial regarding the Syrian crisis. The Bashar al-Assad government, which had been on the brink of collapse, has now firmly in control of most of the territory in Syria, with the exception of only Idlib and the Kurdish-held eastern region, mainly due to support from Russia and Iran. The Syrian government is now set to launch an attack on the Idlib province, which is mostly run by jihadists belonging to an Al-Qaeda faction. The concern, however, is that the province is home to about 3 million people, which includes a million refugees displaced from war zones, and therefore an attack on the Idlib province will further aggravate the humanitarian crisis. Adding to this, Turkey is deeply involved in the Idlib province and it backs one of the rebel groups and has expressed fears that an attack on Idlib province might trigger a refugee influx into neighboring Turkey. Given that Turkey too is important for Russia, creates a dilemma for the Russian president with respect to military attack on the Idlib province. Therefore, an alternative is to adopt the middle path and to exhaust other options before going to war. And as per the United Nations suggestion, the government troops of Syria should first open a humanitarian corridor for civilians to move to safer locations. Also, the UN Special Envoy has offered to mediate between the Syrian government and the rebels, which should be thought out by both Syria and Russia because the ultimate goal should not just be military victory but also a political one. In this regard, more bloodshed and atrocities against the civilians will only complicate the process which could be avoided. On that note, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding the 2+2 dialogue between the External Affairs Minister and the Defense Minister of India with their American counterparts. The meeting is expected to address several issues like the procurement of S-400 long-range air defense systems from Russia by India, the sticky issue of zero oil imports from Iran, and also a waiver for India's development of the Chabahar port in Iran. The Indo-Pacific policies of both countries who are engaged in quad or quadrilateral arrangement with Australia and Japan. And finally, the foundational communications compatibility and security agreement. Indian officials have time and again pointed out that India enjoys independent relations with all the major powers and have sought to dispel any apprehensions that the 2+2 dialogue would have a negative impact on relations with other countries. We'll further look into this based on the final outcomes of the meet. And on that note, I'm wrapping up today's news analysis. Do like, share, and comment to support this initiative. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.